Welcome to our channel. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to History Made Simple Daily. Today we are going to break down World War I in a simple, clear and easy to understand way. World War I began in 1914, but the causes of the war started many years before that. To understand the war, we first need to understand the world at the time. In the early 1900s, Europe was made up of powerful nations competing for influence. Countries wanted more land, more power, and more control over trade and resources. This created tension between nations. At the same time, many countries were building strong militaries. This is known as militarism. Each country wanted to be prepared for war, even if they hoped to avoid it. Another major factor was nationalism. Nationalism is a strong pride in your country. People believed their nation was superior and they were willing to fight for it. This increased competition and conflict between countries. Now, let's talk about alliances. Countries began forming alliances, which were agreements to support each other in war. There were two main alliance groups, the Triple Entente, which included Britain, France, and Russia, and the Triple Alliance, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. These alliances were meant to provide security, but they also made things more dangerous. Because if one country went to war, its allies would be pulled in. Now, we come to the event that triggered the war. In June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated. He was killed by a nationalist from Serbia. This event shocked Europe. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia and declared war on Serbia. At first, this seemed like it might be a small regional conflict. But because of alliances, it quickly escalated. Russia supported Serbia. Germany supported Austria-Hungary. France supported Russia, and Britain joined to support its allies. Within weeks, much of Europe was at war. Now, let's talk about how the war was fought. One of the most important features of World War I was trench warfare. Soldiers dug long trenches into the ground to protect themselves from enemy fire. These trenches stretched across large parts of Europe. Between opposing trenches was an area called No Man's Land. This area was extremely dangerous. Soldiers who entered it were exposed to enemy fire. Life in the trenches was very difficult. There was constant mud, cold weather, and limited food. Soldiers also faced disease and the stress of constant danger. Now, let's look at the weapons used in the war. World War I introduced new and deadly technology. Machine guns could fire hundreds of rounds per minute. Artillery caused massive destruction from long distances. Poison gas was used, causing painful injuries and fear. Tanks were introduced later in the war, helping break through enemy lines. These new weapons made the war far more deadly than previous conflicts. Millions of soldiers and civilians lost their lives. The war was not only fought in Europe, it spread to other parts of the world. Colonies of European nations became involved, and battles took place in Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. Now, let's talk about a major turning point. In 1917, the United States entered the war. At first, the United States had remained neutral, but several factors changed that. German submarine attacks on ships and political pressure. The United States joined the Allies, providing fresh troops and resources. This gave the Allies a major advantage. By 1918, Germany and its allies were struggling. Their resources were running low, and their forces were weakening. Eventually, Germany agreed to an armistice, which is an agreement to stop fighting. This marked the end of the war. Now, let's talk about what happened after the war. The Treaty of Versailles was signed in 1919. This treaty officially ended the war. It placed heavy penalties on Germany. Germany was forced to accept responsibility for the war. It had to pay large reparations and reduce its military. While the treaty ended the war, it also created new problems. Many people in Germany felt the terms were unfair. This anger would later contribute to the rise of World War II. World War I changed the world in many ways. It led to the collapse of empires. It redrew national borders, and it changed how wars were fought. It also showed the devastating impact of modern warfare. Now, let's quickly review the key points. World War I began in 1914. It was caused by militarism, nationalism, alliances, and political tension. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand triggered the war. Trench warfare defined much of the conflict. New technology made the war more deadly. The United States entered in 1917. The war ended in 1918. And the Treaty of Versailles followed. Take a moment to reflect. Understanding history helps us understand the present and how decisions can shape the future. See you in the next video.